do you want me to sit here? Hey everyone, how you doing? I gotta make sure my
Yes.
I can hear you guys. Do you want me to grab that bit? You good? How are you doing?
I'm fine. What about you?
Good. Yeah, it's good. It's so nice to be back in Mexico City. It's my third time.
Oh, nice. And also welcome back to CCXP, right? Because
yes,
you've been to CCXP.
We came to this event.
No. This is the twice CCXP in Mexico.
Oh, okay. So it didn't exist in 2016 in Mexico City.
Yeah. So how does it feel to be in CCXP but now in Mexico?
It feels great. It's so nice. I mean, I love the continuing, fandom around Stranger Things and Billy and the support and all those things. And, I've met so many really nice people today. I might take this out because I can hear you really well. So
you can hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing too much of myself in here. So
okay, but you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. I feel like I'm out. I don't know how you guys wear it. I can't hear you. But yeah, it's really nice to be back in Mexico City. I've already had at least a kilo of tacos already, so I've been eating a lot, so it's been great.
Did you like the taco? Do we have any Stranger Things fans here? I think we do.
I think we might have a couple.
Okay, so Dacre, you're part of one of the most famous TV shows of all time, which is Stranger Things.
Yes.
Okay? So Billy becomes the high school outsider we love to hate. I just loved you. That's just a fact.
You didn't hate him, you loved him. I'm glad.
Were you aware how things would turn out for the characters since the beginning, or not at all?
A little bit. I sort of worked with the creators of the show, the Duffer Brothers, along the way to form Billy, I think. I think at the start they really saw him just as a villain, and I said to them it was really important to me that he was a human being with flaws and all sorts of things that every human being has, right? No one is perfect. And I kind of wanted to find what that story was, and we ultimately did with the storyline with Billy's father. And that was something that wasn't existing in the script already, that we were able to talk about and work on. So I feel like the creators of the show, they wanted everyone's input in the characters. It wasn't set in stone, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you gave it a huge depth.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Well, everyone made that show what it is. I'm just a little part of a big show, so.
No, you're not. You actually became a huge part of the show because Billy is really one of the most famous characters, honestly. But I have heard that about the Duffer Brothers and you having like a conversation so you could, figure it out together. Totally. How would be the journey of this character? And yes. I wanted to know what were your inputs and your must-haves regarding the development of Billy.
Yeah, I think it was less, I didn't have any input about my hair. That was something that was already predetermined. The wig, it was a wig, my mullet, or my costume, but I did have some preferences about his jewelry, and also just more than anything, like I said before, about his storyline with his parents.
Yeah.
Why is he the way he is? That was all more my question. He can't just be a bad guy. Like, you're not just bad. I wanted to create more layers and depth to that.
Yes, of course.
So yeah, those were some of my inputs.
The intro of your character to the show
yes.
was one of the most iconic ones. The hair, the pants, the
yes.
music. You did choose the music, right?
Yeah, I pitched some music to the Duffer Brothers, but it was too old. It was from the 50s and 60s and 70s, and ultimately, we landed on the song we landed on, but I think it was more their decision, that song. But, as you said before, they came to me, they said, give us 5 song choices. And so I gave them some Jimi Hendrix and some other things, but it was too old for the 80s, if that made sense. They wanted more 80s relevant music.
You have to have the timing, right?
Yeah, timing right, and even though people were listening to music from the 60s and the 80s, it's all about the 80s, right? Everything. all of the references in the show have to be about that. So that's why we landed on the song we landed on.
And I heard that since we're here in Mexico, Shanique, you guys prepared a gift, like
We prepared
things about the intro.
Okay, okay.
So let's roll it.
What is it? Am I looking? Is it going to be on this screen?
Yes, it is.
Oh, this. Opening scene. I love the music. The music is great. So sweet. I think that song might have been better than the original, right?
No, I think your choice.
I think that might have been better. I liked it better.
I was telling everybody before you came on stage that you are the culpable for the mullet and mustache. I live for it. It's amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's playing again. They want another round. It's like a meme.
I think it's more dramatic.
Yeah, it's just gonna keep playing around and
The
around.
whole interview. But I mean, that was it. Thank you, Mexico.
Thank you, Mexico.
New version now for Stranger Things. But well, we know that. Oh yeah, we were talking about the Rocky Like the Hurricane song.
Yes, yes.
Obviously, that it was a fun fact.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, we were actually talking about complex characters
Yes.
and the complexity behind them.
Yeah.
And I think we can all agree that there aren't characters that are all bad.
Yes,
They have complexity and trauma behind them
yes,
that makes them who they really are. But also having these characters that are a little bit more complex, I think that they can bring you some kind of acknowledgement.
yes,
Like, did you learn, and I know that Billy wasn't the first bully you portrayed, right?
yes.
And we've been here talking, you're really gentle, you're kind, but have you learned something with these characters while playing these complex characters?
When I was in high school, I got bullied a lot. And what I realized about playing a bully is that the bully that's bullying you also has their own problems. Like, they might be going home to parents who are really awful to them, and they're repeating behavior that they've seen at home, at school, to the kid who's getting bullied, which was me. So the reason I wanted to bring complexity to that character, or I hoped to bring complexity to that character, was because I truly felt like people wouldn't resonate with Billy at all if he was just a bad guy. Because no one's like that, like I said before. And I had that realization when we were shooting. I said to the creators, I said, the bullies aren't just, like, what's their story? What does he go home to? And then they wrote the sequence with my dad in from that. So
That's why we all love them.
I think that's why people connected to it.
I have a question. So you seem to be very empathetic with the bullies and the bad guys. Are you drawn to those kinds of characters, or is it just a coincidence?
I'm just drawn to those complexities. I think it's an experience that was different from mine. And I think as an actor, it's always more interesting to play characters that are so different from yourself and also so kind of messed up and lost in life. I think there's more room for me to create interesting characters from that kind of person. Yeah.
Thank you.
And at the background, I mean, the backstage, we were talking about your relation with your little sister.
Yes.
That is Sadie, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Yes. You have we know you have a little sister.
Yes.
And then you're not a bully in real life.
Yeah.
So I bet you have a lot of chemistry with the people you work with on stage.
Yeah.
How do you build that chemistry?
I think just trust, right? Like, I think when I started working with Sadie, she was a lot. We've got a Sadie fan over here. She was a lot younger than she is now, and I think the biggest thing I would say to her in a scene before we would shoot is, no matter what happens in this scene, you need to trust me. Like, I will never push things too far. You need to tell me if you feel uncomfortable. You need to be honest with me about, you know, if I'm playing Billy, I'm getting angry, that you feel safe. And I feel like that's the most important thing, because that is chemistry, right? Whether you're acting with someone who's a family member or a love interest, you need to have chemistry, and you can't build chemistry without trust. That's just like life, right? Like if I was sitting in front of you guys right now and I was really like kind of rude, there would be no chemistry in this conversation. So I think it's about building trust and understanding that I'm listening to you, you know, you're being heard, and you can hear me because there's trust. And I think I take that in any role, whether it's someone playing my little sister or my enemy or whatever. You always have to have chemistry, you know? It's so important in film and TV.
And it shows. It really shows.
And it shows.
And well, since you mentioned the backstage with Sadie,
Yes.
I wanted to ask you if there was any moment, a special moment that you can remember from backstage, or a favorite one from the backstage of Stranger Things. I mean, it can be emotional, funny.
With Max or anything?
Anyone, like your favorite moment from the backstage.
I mean, there's so many great moments, but one moment, I had to shoot a scene during COVID in Australia because I couldn't come to America. I've told this story before, but I don't know, for anyone who hasn't heard, my hometown is a place called Perth in Western Australia, and I was stuck there because Australia was locked down because of COVID, and they had to build a movie set, but I was acting with Sadie, but she wasn't there, so they put a tennis ball in the room, and then I had to be walking, but on the spot, to pretend as if I was walking. So I'm like talking to a tennis ball, going like this, not actually walking forward. I was standing still, and it was kind of wild. And I was in Australia with an Australian film crew as Billy, and I'm used to shooting in America, the show. And it was a really bizarre experience, and that was my one scene in the last season.
Oh no!
Yeah, that was my scene. I shot
with a tennis ball.
Yeah, I shot that scene with a tennis ball, and then obviously that scene became so iconic with the song, you know, from the last season.
Yes, of course.
You know.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate to be able to shoot it in Australia, but it was so strange to have nothing around me, and the lines were being read back over a speaker, and the director was on Zoom on an iPad. So I had tennis ball, iPad, walking on spot,
So awkward.
lines coming into my ear, Sadie's line. So it was very hard.
Yes.
Well, since you mentioned Running Up That Hill, I mean, Stranger Things, we all know that is one of the most influential series of all time. And for example, we have Running Up That Hill, that is a Kate Bush's song. And it became like top one of the music charts globally after its inclusion in the
Yes.
fourth season.
Yes.
And I don't know for you, Shanique, and to the public, also for Dacre, but it became one of my favorite scenes ever from Stranger Things. So, do you have a favorite scene at all from all seasons?
I like the scene at the end in the mall, you know, at the end of the season before that, just because it was a very special memory of shooting that, you know, with Millie and with Sadie, and it was like the end of Billy in a lot of ways. And so that was a very special memory and is a special scene for me. Yeah.
Talking about that, we know that you might or might not come back for the final
I
season.
can't say.
We cannot say, but I bet you still, you know, see your teammates and your castmates, and you keep in touch, right?
Yeah, I mean, I live on the other side of the world, so I live in Australia. So
I know.
it's hard to keep in touch with everyone, but I see the actors occasionally at points.
What are your thoughts on the final season?
I'm so excited. Like I obviously love the show. I came into it loving it. I love the characters, and I'm excited to see it finished, you know, but in a really strong, entertaining way.
And emotional too, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you were a part of this thing that was huge.
Yeah. And all good things come to an end, but I think it's about appreciating the end rather than being like, why is it over? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. And there's this thing about Stranger Things. I am a huge fan of Stranger Things, and you had teamwork in Stranger Things. Teamwork. But, I mean, there's other project you've been to that also relates to teamwork. That is the Power Rangers movie from 2016.
Some Power Rangers fans, obviously.
I really have a story to tell you all. Like, it's really quick, but well, when I found out I was going to interview Dacre, I started with watching all of his productions, movies,
that's
series.
sweet.
But I started with Stranger Things because I'm a huge fan.
Yes.
And then my boss, that is Isabella, she's right across that stage, in the backstage. She came to me and she was like, "Why are you rewatching Stranger Things?" And I was like, "Because I'm a huge fan." And she was like, "But have you ever watched the Power Rangers movie from 2016? And I was like, "No." And she was like, "You should watch it. So you're gonna watch it, and then you're gonna come, and you're gonna tell me your thoughts on it." So well, I stopped watching Stranger Things, and I came back to my house, and I instantly played the Power Rangers movie with no expectations at all. It simply became my favorite Power Rangers movie.
It's so good.
What the hell? It's so good.
Thank you.
And I think that part of what makes this movie so good is the chemistry between you guys, between the Power Rangers, the building up of, your friendship. And this also happens in Stranger Things. So I just wanted to know if there is any secret to building this good chemistry. I don't know, you guys have a WhatsApp group? I really don't know how was that possible, but it was really amazing to see on screen.
Oh, thank you. It's, as I said before, it's trust in terms of chemistry. It's building trust. And that cast and we all got so close. And Naomi Scott from that cast and I are still like best friends. So she's really great. So it was my first proper film, and I made some really good friends for life.
You and Naomi are still friends.
Yes. It's the best. I'd love to do another movie with her for sure.
It was really good.
Thanks.
We've heard that you are a big fan of pop culture content. Are you watching anything right now? Anime, series, movies? Something you recommend?
I always am watching all day, every day. When I'm not working. I've spent the entirety of this year watching making ofs. It sounds kind of strange.
No, it's good.
Like all kinds of different how movies were made, or movies that had chaotic film shoots. I've just been watching documentaries about movies being made the whole of this year. I think I've watched 150 making of documentaries this year.
Is there anyone you can recommend? What's your favorite?
I don't know. It's so hard to recommend because it's such a niche. Do you want me to give more of a pop culture? You asked me if it was more of a pop culture.
I mean, whatever you
I
want.
probably didn't answer the question very
No,
well.
it's fine.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just watching. I watch everything that's out in the cinemas. I watch, obviously this year, a lot of these documentaries, and I try and watch a lot of TV. I honestly watch everything.
I have a follow-up question on the documentaries. So, do you watch the documentary of the making of at the same time that you're watching the content, or afterwards?
I actually watch it before because it gives you so much more insight into what's happening, what went wrong behind the scenes, what was hard, what were the obstacles that they had to overcome. So recently I watched a couple of making ofs, like I watched the making of Scarface.
Okay.
Because it was an interesting process, and I had heard a lot of things about Al Pacino, who I just worked with. He just played my dad in a movie that I shot, and because I knew I was going to work with Pacino, I was like, he's one of the greatest actors alive. I was like, I've seen Scarface, I love Scarface, I've seen Scarface 10 times, but I've never watched the making of Scarface. So I watched it, and then I rewatched Scarface, and it was even better because I knew what the director and Al Pacino and the cast had to overcome to make the movie, and I don't know, I found it more valuable. Yeah.
I think you. First of all, I can see you're not afraid of spoilers. you're not afraid of spoilers.
Yeah.
And then I think you with the making of, you can see things in a very different light.
Totally.
That also helps you as an actor.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm going to direct my first film later this year. See how it goes. So I think it's also just me watching to understand how I can better communicate to the crew and the casts how I see the movie in my head by watching other directors talk about how they see the movie in their head, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
And
No, it also does, because you kind of anticipated our question.
I know, I saw.
Because
Sorry, I read the questions.
because we were going to ask about your debut as a director, and it kind of popped in my mind, since you're watching the making of the movies, that would probably help you also as a director. But I was wondering, like, thinking about Shanik's question, can you tell us your 3 favorite movies?
Okay, do you really want to hear? They're kind of
Yes.
random. It's kind of random.
No, it's okay.
Waves. Don't know if anyone's seen Waves. It's like 3 years ago. Anyway, go look it up. It's great. The Big Blue.
Okay.
It's a French free diving film about a guy who falls in love with the ocean over the girl. It's so hard to choose a third. I love so many movies. I love really serious art house films, and then I love Click with Adam Sandler, and I love John Wick, and I love big action movies and comedy movies, and I feel like you can't love one thing, you know? I love thrillers, I love all kinds of films, but one thing that does come to mind is Alfonso Cuarón. I didn't know that Roma was area in Mexico, and I watched the making of Roma before I watched Roma this year, and to hear Alfonso talk about how special Mexico is to him and where he grew up here made it more special. So when I got off the plane yesterday, I walked all around Roma, and I wanted to see all of the sights and the people and the things and the buildings, and that made it really special for me, you know. So that's a good probably example of like a movie I watched recently, Alfonso, Roma, Mexico City, a making of documentary, all of those tied up right here, and that was special to watch before coming here.
No, to be really honest, Roma is my favorite movie from Netflix. It's really good. Ustedes tienen que ver, así que llegar en casa, ustedes porque no han visto Roma, es buenísima. It's an amazing movie, and I think that everyone should watch it because it's so good.
You should watch the making of
Also
to understand why it's so important for Alfonso.
Watching this making
Netflix has the making of, but I watch them all on YouTube.
Oh, that's good. That's a good tip. But well, you mentioned Al Pacino. We want to know more about your new work, the Gus Van Sant movie. So what can you tell us about it, but without spoilers, obviously?
It's hard to not spoil it. I had lots of fun working with the cast. Bill Skarsgård and I play. He's like a hostage taker, and he takes me hostage. And we had a really great cast, like Coleman Domingo and Al Pacino and Myhala. I don't know if you watched the TV show Industry, but we had a really good cast. And Gus Van Sant is one of my favorite directors. You know, he directed Good Will Hunting and My Own Private Idaho and other movies like that. So I was really excited to work with him, and I had a really, really great time. And the movie's hopefully going to come out later this year. So I hope you enjoy it.
So we're excited.
I have to confess that I read that you were on that movie. I went and looked for the real true crime case.
Oh, you've seen, yeah, because it's a true story. The whole thing is sort of, like the whole thing is true. None of it is sort of.
And as a wrap-up, because we're talking about a true crime story, a true story, and the character that you're not used to playing directing more or playing some sort of character specifically? What do you want?
I think at the moment, directing is my calling. The film I'm directing is a very, very important story to me. I'm very emotionally connected to it. And I'm also acting in it and producing it as well. So it's going to be, I feel like I'm not going to do anything else for like a year except this movie. And hopefully it works. But I feel like I have all of these images inside of my head that I want to get on the screen. So I'm nervous and excited and really passionate about it. And I think character-wise, I don't know. I don't know what's next beyond Gus's film. I think it's the last film I think I'll do for a while because I just want to focus on directing. And I think I want to save this passion for stories that I really care about. So I think I'm just going to invest my time in that.
Okay, on that note, I'm sorry, I have a follow-up question.
Yes.
What stories do you die to talk about?
It's a really good question. I think I really die to talk about stories that are controversial, but in a really important way, like conversations that I feel like people fear having in cinema at the moment. I want to have those conversations in my movies, so I hope that I can do that in the right way. But I like telling dark stories, intense stories. I'm drawn to that kind of energy and putting art in the film, with all kinds of mediums. My film is going to be live action and stop motion and a whole lot of things. So hopefully it works. Or maybe you'll be watching it in 2 years going,
No.
didn't work.
No. We'll watch it. But I mean, there's one thing that I just wanted to say, that at the end of the day, you are a guy that seems to like to have these hard conversations, because Billy is the hard conversation. He is the guy that we all thought it was a villain. Some people hated him, some people love him, but we all learned to understand him. So I think that at the end of the day, it's about having the hard conversation. And we, as lovers of pop culture, movies, series, we appreciate that kind of work that is trying to get out of the box, of the obvious. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
I can see now.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, there's also Jason.
No, they're not. No, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me or for your questions.
I can see what you have in common with my bad guys, and it's that you're not afraid to have deep thoughts and do the things you want to do.
Yeah.
So I really look forward to seeing